Welcome to our deep dive
Oh.
into Trisha Yearwood's home cooking cookbook. Today we're going to be exploring a variety of recipe categories,
Oh yeah, from breakfast and
all
snacks,
the way
appetizers, soups, salads, you name it.
through main courses and sides.
Desserts and even candy.
It's a really amazing book.
It is. It's an incredibly personal collection, I think, filled with family recipes and stories, and you can really tell that Trisha, you know, um, has strong Southern roots
hmm
and that she is passionate about bringing people together through food.
Yeah, and it's not just a cookbook. It's really like an invitation into her world and all of her family traditions and the memories that she has with each dish. So this deep dive is going to be all about uncovering those unique recipe twists and those family stories and hopefully inspiring you at home to bring that same warmth and joy into your own kitchen.
And speaking of her cooking philosophy, I think one of the things that really stood out to me in reading this cookbook was that Trisha truly believes in the power of simple, accessible ingredients. It's about creating delicious, home-cooked meals without the fuss or pretension.
And that really comes across in the book's dedication to her loved ones who've passed away.
Mm.
She talks about how their memories live on through these recipes and how sharing a meal is a
Mhm.
way to keep those connections alive.
It's a beautiful sentiment, and it just speaks volumes about, you know, the importance of food as a way to connect with your family and to create lasting memories.
Yeah,
And it's something that really shines through in so many of these recipes.
like Mama's homemade waffles.
Oh, yeah.
So Trisha found out that she was using way more sugar in her waffles than her family's original recipe called for.
Right.
And that led to her creating sweet tea waffles,
Oh,
which
yes,
is
yes,
just
yes.
so on brand for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the fun twist on that recipe where she adds bacon to the waffle iron before the batter
Oh, yeah.
to make savory bacon waffles.
It's a fun, unexpected way to shake up the classic breakfast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of family traditions, blueberry pancakes is a reminder that breakfast for supper is always a good idea.
Oh, I agree. Who doesn't love pancakes any time of day? But then there's Garth's breakfast bowl, which is a little bit less
A
traditional.
little bit less traditional pasta, eggs, bacon, and potatoes.
All in one bowl.
It's an interesting combination.
It's definitely not your average breakfast fare, but it's definitely hearty and satisfying.
And if you can't finish it all, Garth will clean up the leftovers for you.
That's right. He's a practical man with a good appetite.
And he also inspired the country quiche recipe by suggesting the addition of tortellini.
Oh, yeah. It's a brilliant addition. I mean,
Uh,
who would have thought to put tortellini in quiche? But it adds a whole new dimension of texture and flavor.
Yeah. And for dessert, or maybe a mischievous snack, there's the story of Trisha's sister Beth losing a tooth while enjoying a red candy apple.
Oh, no. Hopefully it was a loose tooth.
I know, I'm thinking the same thing, but
And either way, those candy apples sound delicious.
yeah, they sound perfect for like a fall festival or a Halloween party.
It's exactly.
And speaking of comfort food, Trisha's chicken soup recipe
Hmm.
introduced me to Wondra flour,
Oh, yeah.
which I had never used before.
It's a really finely milled flour that dissolves quickly in liquids, so it's great for thickening soups and gravies without any lumps.
Oh, so that's the secret to a smooth, velvety texture.
That's it.
I'm adding that to my grocery list.
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure.
So one of the recipes that really exemplifies the personal touch of this cookbook is Colleen's cabbage rolls,
Yo, yes.
which Trisha recreated to honor Garth's mother.
Ah,
And the secret ingredient is cinnamon.
cinnamon. You know what? That is not something you see every day, but it really speaks to the unique flavor profiles that can emerge from family recipes that have been passed down for generations.
Absolutely. And speaking of unique flavors, let's talk about Trisha's meatballs. They're surprisingly easy to make, and she even suggests serving them as appetizers with toothpicks.
Oh, yeah, perfect for parties or game day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's Cowboy Lasagna, which was actually a collaborative creation.
Between Trisha and Garth.
Yeah, they were looking for like a really loaded, indulgent lasagna experience.
And they definitely achieved it.
And for ribs that are fall off the bone tender, there's Fred's barbecued pork ribs.
Yes. And the secret is Trisha's cousin Fred's special spray technique.
What?
Yeah, he has this special spray he uses when he's grilling ribs that apparently works wonders.
I need to know what this special spray is.
We gotta get our hands on that recipe.
Yeah, and you could also cook them in a baking bag for added convenience.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Speaking of bringing convenience and joy to your kitchen, this feels like the perfect time to remind you about Trisha's home cooking, stories and recipes to share with family and friends.
This cookbook is full of heartfelt stories like the ones we've been talking about paired with these delicious, approachable recipes.
Order your copy today and create moments worth savoring.
And speaking of delicious recipes, we're just getting started.
No, we're just getting warmed up.
Up next, we'll be diving into some of Trisha's Southern comfort food classics, like Linda's chicken and dressing and chicken spinach lasagna, which even spinach skeptics will love.
Oh, I can't wait.
So stay tuned because we're about to go even deeper into the delicious world of home cooking with Trisha Yearwood.
I'm so excited. It's really cool to see how Trisha kind of balances, those like classic Southern flavors with a modern twist.
Yeah, it's a great combination of like tradition and innovation, like Linda's chicken and dressing.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate Southern comfort food classic,
Right.
blending that cornbread dressing and chicken.
You get all those textures and flavors in one casserole dish.
It's so good.
It's so comforting.
And then chicken spinach lasagna.
Okay.
Even spinach skeptics will love it.
I believe it. I'm one of those people who's not a huge fan of spinach, but when it's done right.
When it's done right.
Yeah, we don't even notice it.
And Trisha herself wasn't a fan of squash until she discovered the recipe for squash casserole.
That's interesting.
It sounds so simple,
Yeah.
but it must be really something special.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny how her journey with squash kind of mirrors a lot of people's experiences with vegetables, I think.
Right.
Sometimes all it takes is the right recipe to kind of change your perspective.
Yeah, totally. And speaking of changing perspectives, what about crock-pot macaroni and cheese?
Okay.
I'm like a mac and cheese purist.
Oh,
But-
really?
yeah, but even I'm intrigued by the idea of a slow cooker version.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about that effortless melt-in-your-mouth texture that you get from the slow cooking.
Right.
And let's not forget about the elegant asparagus bundles, which have this amazing touch of brown sugar in the recipe.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those dishes that's like beautiful to look at as well as to eat.
Exactly. Presentation is everything.
And while we're talking about vegetables, cabbage casserole is another recipe where Trisha takes this really humble ingredient and turns it into something pretty decadent.
It's amazing what you can do with simple ingredients when you have a little creativity.
And for a really fresh twist on cranberry sauce, there's cranberry orange relish, which has become a family favorite for Trisha.
Oh, I bet.
That bright citrusy flavor is perfect alongside Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah.
And for a southern dessert with a twist, there's sweet potato pudding
Okay.
with the addition of cornmeal.
Cornmeal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a really unexpected addition, but it adds a really nice texture and depth to the pudding.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I love it when there are those like little unexpected ingredients in desserts that kind of like elevate them.
And then there's the cold oven pound cake, which has such a cool history behind it.
Oh, tell me about it.
It was born out of necessity during the Depression. Great Aunt Marie came up with this technique of starting the cake in a cold oven and letting the temperature gradually rise to help conserve fuel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's resourceful.
It's amazing how techniques from the past can still be relevant today.
I love that. And speaking of family history, Grandma Yearwood's coconut cake was actually almost lost.
Oh.
I know, until Trisha rediscovered it in her grandmother's recipe file.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing that really sets this cake apart is the addition of vanilla wafer crumbs.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a really nice touch.
It's a touch of nostalgia, and it adds this, like, really delicate sweetness to the cake.
And for the chocolate lovers out there, there's chocolate cake with divinity icing.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
It was a special birthday treat for Trisha's grandfather,
Yeah.
and the icing is notoriously difficult to make.
It is divinity icing. It requires really precise timing. And you know what? I've heard that it's especially tricky on humid days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you kind of have to say a little prayer when you're making divinity icing.
Yeah.
But when it comes together, it's just like this beautiful, fluffy, marshmallowy dream.
It sounds worth the effort for sure.
It does.
And Trisha also includes several cookie recipes in the book that are perfect for baking with family and friends.
Yeah.
Jennifer's iced sugar cookies.
Oh, yeah, those are
They're
classic.
just classic sugar cookies, perfect for decorating.
Fun for all ages. Yeah.
And then for the little ones, there are thumbprint cookies.
Those are adorable.
Yeah.
And I love thumbprint cookies because you can get the kids involved. They can make the little thumbprints in the dough.
Right, exactly. And then there are Lizzie's chocolate pinwheel cookies, which are just beautiful.
Oh, yeah. They have that really distinctive pinwheel design, and she uses thread to cut the dough.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. It makes for these, like, clean, precise slices.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for a really special chocolate chip cookie experience, there's Vanita's chocolate chip cookies.
Okay.
And Vanita's really dedicated to the details here. She actually blends oatmeal into a really fine powder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she grates chocolate bars to make these extra intense chocolate chips.
It's like she's putting so much love and care into these
Yeah,
cookies.
it's those little extra steps that really make them stand out.
And speaking of love, there's also the story behind Mamie's tea cakes, which is a recipe from a really cherished family friend
Oh, wow.
who had a huge impact on Trisha's life. It's amazing how food can connect us to people.
Yeah, it's a way of carrying on their legacy.
Exactly.
And there's grape salad, which we learned is actually more of a dessert than a salad.
Right. It's more of like a sweet, creamy concoction.
Yeah, perfect for like potlucks and gatherings.
Definitely. And, before we move on to the rest of Trisha's delicious desserts,
Okay.
I want to take a minute to remind you about the magic that you can create in your own kitchen
Yeah.
with home cooking with Trisha Yearwood, stories and recipes to share with family and friends.
This cookbook is all about the stories and the connections as much as it is about the food.
So discover heartfelt stories and delicious recipes. Order your copy today and create moments worth savoring.
Yes.
And speaking of delicious recipes, we're about to dive into a world of cakes, pies, and candies that will definitely satisfy your sweet tooth.
I'm excited.
From Trisha's crockpot chocolate candy to some of her family's favorite peanut butter treats.
Oh,
We've got a whole lineup of tempting treats in store for you.
sounds great.
So stay tuned as we continue to explore home cooking with Trisha Yearwood, and we'll discover even more heartwarming stories and delicious recipes.
So we've explored so many heartwarming stories and delicious recipes, but the world of sweet treats is still waiting.
Oh yeah, Trisha's dessert recipes are just as diverse and inviting as her savory dishes.
Yeah. Let's start with crockpot chocolate candy.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It's super easy and really impressive. This layered confection with peanuts, chocolate, and almond bark, it all comes together in the slow cooker.
It's the perfect dessert when you want something decadent, but you don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen.
Right, and for peanut butter lovers, there's Miss Mickey's peanut butter balls and peanut butter bars.
Okay, tell me about those peanut butter balls.
Well, they're a classic no-bake treat. Super simple peanut butter, Rice Krispies, corn syrup. You roll them into balls and you're done.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a blast from the past.
Right.
Yeah, takes me back to my childhood.
Yeah. And the peanut butter bars are amazing too. They have this like buttery shortbread base and then this creamy peanut butter filling.
Ooh, those sound dangerous.
They are so good.
Like the kind of dessert that disappears in a flash at a party.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of simple pleasures, there's the sweet and saltines recipe.
Sweet and saltines.
Yes, you basically take saltine crackers and you transform them into a sweet and salty treat.
I would never have thought of that.
I know, but it's so good. It's brown sugar, butter, and chocolate chips.
Oh, wow.
You bake it all together and it gets bubbly and golden.
That sounds so simple, yet so delicious.
And it's just brilliant, using those everyday ingredients and making something special.
Right.
Now let's talk about some of the cakes. So cold oven pound cake is that unique method we talked about earlier.
Right.
You start it in a cold oven.
To save fuel.
Yeah, it was born out of necessity during the Depression, but it makes the best pound cake.
It does. It's so moist and it has a great texture.
And speaking of family history, there's Grandma Yearwood's coconut cake.
Oh, yeah, that one's special.
It's a traditional Southern coconut cake with a coconut lemon glaze.
Mmm.
And the addition of vanilla wafer crumbs is what really makes it unique.
It adds that delicate sweetness.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little nod to Grandma Yearwood.
Yeah, exactly. And for the chocolate lovers, chocolate cake with divinity icing.
That icing is so good, but it can be tricky to make.
It can be. It's all about timing and a little bit of luck.
Especially on a humid day.
Right.
But when it comes together, it's just like this light, fluffy, marshmallowy dream.
I love it.
Me too.
And if you're feeling really ambitious, there's chocolate torte.
Ooh, chocolate torte. Now that sounds impressive.
It has these multiple thin layers of cake and then rich chocolate icing in between each layer.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a showstopper.
It really is. And then for a classic comfort food dessert, there's Trisha's chocolate pie.
Okay, can't go wrong with chocolate pie.
Just simple and satisfying.
Uh,
Creamy chocolate filling in a graham cracker crust.
I love that.
And then there's magic lemon meringue pie.
Magic. Why is it magic?
The filling has this really unique texture. It's creamy and custardy at the same time.
Interesting. And of course, you can't forget that fluffy meringue topping.
Of course not.
Meringue can be a little tricky, but Trisha's recipe gives you all the tips to make it perfect.
Yeah, and for a seasonal favorite, there's pumpkin pie,
A classic.
a classic perfect for fall and the holidays.
I love pumpkin pie.
And then there's cookies. We've got Best London's pecan tassies.
What are pecan tassies?
Imagine like a tiny pecan pie
Okay.
baked in a mini muffin tin. So you get this buttery crust and then that sweet, nutty pecan
Oh
filling.
my goodness.
So good.
They sound perfect for a holiday cookie platter.
They are. And we also have recipes for fruitcake cookies, lemon squares, and Jennifer's iced sugar cookies, which are perfect for decorating with kids.
So fun. I love decorating cookies with my kids.
It's a great activity for the whole family.
Mm.
Speaking of festive treats, the book also includes recipes for Never Fail Divinity and red candy apples.
Oh, those are both classics, especially during the holidays.
Exactly, and Divinity is like this light, fluffy candy made with egg whites, sugar, and nuts.
It's definitely a labor of love to make Divinity, but so worth it in the end.
I agree, and those red candy apples are perfect for Halloween or a fall festival.
Right.
They're just so fun and festive.
So throughout our deep dive into home cooking, I think one thing has become really clear.
What's that?
Trisha Yearwood's cookbook is more than just recipes. It's a celebration of family tradition and the joy of sharing food with the people you love.
It's about making memories and those traditions that will be passed down for years to come.
And it's about that simple pleasure of gathering around the table with loved ones and enjoying a good meal.
And Trisha's recipes are approachable, and her stories are so heartwarming. It really inspires you to embrace that art of home cooking.
And to create those special moments in your own kitchen.
Yeah, so remember, Home Cooking with Trisha Yearwood, Stories and Recipes to Share with Family and Friends is available now. Discover heartfelt stories and delicious recipes, order your copy today, and create moments worth savoring.
And before we say goodbye, we want to leave you with a final thought. What family recipe would you contribute to a cookbook, and what story would you tell alongside it?
We encourage you to reflect on that question and maybe even share your answer with us. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Trisha Yearwood's home cooking.
We hope you've been inspired to create some delicious memories in your own kitchen.